Have you ever looked at someone and thought, how is it possible for one person to be this powerful, this beloved, and still somehow this humble? Because right now, JIN is doing something almost unbelievable. On one side, he's dominating the beauty world so hard that products are flying to the top of sales charts the moment his face appears. And on the other side, he's quietly confessing that there was once a time he thought he would leave it all behind. Yes, the same JIN the world knows today as worldwide handsome. The same man whose presence can launch campaigns into instant success just revealed that in the early days of BTS, he once believed his journey would only last 7 years and then be over. So how did the man who thought he might walk away become one of the most powerful and emotionally resonant figures in global entertainment? Let's talk about the real JIN Effect. Because this story is not just about beauty campaigns, brand rankings, or even fame. It's about growth. It's about pressure. It's about the unexpected honesty behind one of the world's biggest stars. And honestly, the more you learn about JIN lately, the more fascinating he becomes. Recently, global beauty brand Laneige launched its upgraded flagship product, the Neo Cushion, and along with that launch came a brand new campaign and pictorial featuring none other than JIN as global ambassador. And the response? Immediate, explosive, almost unreal. As soon as JIN's campaign began, Laneige Neo Cushion the matte shot straight to the overall #1 spot at Olive Young, one of Korea's biggest and most influential beauty retailers. Not #1 in a small category, not #1 after days of promotion, #1 overall. That kind of impact says a lot, because in the beauty industry, where competition is fierce and launches happen constantly, reaching the top right away is not something that happens by accident. It takes demand, attention, trust, and an almost magnetic level of public interest. And JIN clearly has that. Actually, this is not even the first time his power as a brand ambassador has turned heads. Previous Laneige products connected to JIN, including Cream Skin and Neo Cushion campaigns, had already shown extraordinary momentum. They ranked first in sales, created major buzz both inside and outside Korea, and even triggered sellouts in offline stores. Think about that for a second. People weren't just casually noticing the campaign. They were reacting to it in real time. Buying, sharing, talking, showing up. That is what separates a normal celebrity endorsement from true influence. And this renewed Neo Cushion campaign hit differently for another reason too. This product had been refreshed for the first time in 3 years, so there was already curiosity surrounding its comeback. But then JIN stepped into the campaign with those striking visuals, that polished aura, and that deep, calm voice. And suddenly the whole launch felt bigger, more luxurious, more memorable. It felt like an event. That's the thing about JIN's image. He doesn't just appear in a campaign, he transforms the emotional atmosphere of it. He makes it feel elevated. And apparently the numbers back that up in a massive way. According to earlier announcements from Amori Pacific, after selecting JIN as a model in 2024, Laneige's total sales in the fourth quarter of that same year jumped by more than 30% compared to the year before. That's huge. And it didn't stop there. Sales rose across major global retail channels like Sephora and Amazon. Laneige even ranked third in skincare brand sales at Sephora in 2024, which is a major achievement considering Sephora is one of the most competitive beauty spaces in the world. Then came an even more jaw-dropping figure. Laneige reportedly achieved 127% year-on-year sales growth, reaching its highest performance ever. Ever. That is not a small brand win. That is a major business shift. And the ripple effects extended beyond just one product line. Amori Pacific's sales in the Americas surpassed Greater China for the first time, a symbolic milestone that showed just how much global momentum the company had built. In the second quarter of last year, the company recorded over 1 trillion won in sales, while operating profits surged dramatically. And a lot of attention kept circling back to one name, JIN. Even WWD Japan, one of the most recognized voices in the fashion and beauty industry, highlighted the so-called JIN Effect, quoting a Laneige brand manager who said sales of cream skin lotion rose significantly after JIN became ambassador. Campaign sales reportedly exceeded expectations by 100% compared to the original plan. That is the kind of language brands dream of using: exceeded expectations, expanded awareness, surged across markets. And if that wasn't enough, global influencer marketing platform Lefty ranked Laneige as the most influential Korean beauty brand in the world in 2025 in EMV Media Value Rankings. Now let's pause here, because yes, all of that sounds glamorous. Luxury campaigns, best-selling products, global influence, a face that can move markets. But what makes this moment with JIN so compelling is that while all of this success is happening publicly, he's also revealing something deeply personal and surprisingly vulnerable behind the scenes. In a recent YouTube conversation with artist and TV personality Kian84, JIN opened up in a way that caught a lot of people off guard. The mood of the conversation was casual, playful, warm. Kian84 jokingly said that even though their program had ended a long time ago, he still felt like he kept seeing JIN everywhere, on highways, during meals, all over daily life. And honestly, that joke kind of captured the truth. JIN really is everywhere right now. Albums, tours, advertisements, appearances, content. His solo activities have been non-stop. JIN himself admitted he has been incredibly busy lately. He talked about releasing a solo album, going on tour, filming commercials, and even trying to squeeze in time to relax and play games whenever he can. That little detail matters, by the way, because it reminds you that behind the polished image and relentless schedule is still a person trying to breathe between obligations, trying to rest, trying to stay human. And during that conversation, Kian84 also praised BTS in a way that felt especially meaningful. He pointed out that unlike many senior groups that naturally lose momentum over time, BTS still performs with sharpness, power, and an almost undiminished intensity. That's not praise people give lightly. Because staying relevant is one thing. Staying excellent after so many years is something else entirely. But then JIN responded in the most JIN way possible. Instead of simply accepting the compliment, he turned humble. Almost too humble. He said he wasn't the most outstanding member of the group and even joked that he was basically relying on his looks. And wow, that line hits differently when you really think about it. Because the world sees JIN as dazzling, elegant, and effortlessly iconic. But JIN's own perspective still seems grounded in self-awareness, discipline, and maybe even a quiet habit of underestimating himself. He doesn't present himself like someone intoxicated by fame. He presents himself like someone still trying to earn his place, and that makes what he revealed next even more emotional. As the conversation turned toward BTS's long journey, now reaching around 13 years since debut, JIN shared that when he first became an idol, he only expected to do this work for about 7 years. 7 years. That was his original plan. A standard contract cycle, a limited chapter, a finish line. He really thought that after that, he would leave. Just let that sink in. The man who would later become one of the most recognizable faces in global music, the man whose voice and image now carry enormous emotional and commercial weight, once imagined that this life was temporary. Not a lifelong calling, not a forever dream, just 7 years and done. And yet something changed. Over time, JIN said, his thinking completely transformed. The longer he stayed with music, the more joy he found in it. The more sincerely he engaged with artistic activities, the more meaningful it became. And most importantly, he said the love and steady support from ARMY became one of the biggest reasons he kept going. That is the heart of this story. Not the sales charts, not the rankings, not even the massive influence. The heart of this story is that JIN stayed. He stayed because the connection became real. He stayed because the work began to matter more deeply. He stayed because the love he received made him believe he could go farther than he originally imagined. And when he said that thanks to the fans, he felt he could continue longer and become more serious about this work, it didn't sound like a polished celebrity line. It sounded honest. It sounded like someone looking back at a younger version of himself and realizing that life became bigger, richer, and more meaningful than he expected. That's probably why this current era of JIN feels so powerful. Because now we're seeing two truths exist at the same time. The polished global ambassador whose campaigns dominate the market, and the reflective artist who once doubted how long he would last. The man who can sell out products and top rankings in a heartbeat, and the man who still speaks with humility about his place in BTS, the icon and the human being. Maybe that's why people keep responding so strongly to him. Because JIN doesn't just represent perfection, he represents evolution. He represents the quiet emotional journey behind visible success. He represents what happens when someone grows beyond their own expectations. And honestly, that may be the most beautiful part of the JIN Effect. It's not just that he makes people look, it's that he makes people feel. He makes fans feel proud. He makes brands feel the impact. He makes casual viewers curious. And he makes longtime supporters emotional, because every new achievement carries the memory of how far he has come. From a young man who thought he would step away after 7 years, to a global star whose influence now stretches across music, beauty, media, and culture, to someone who still credits the people who believed in him. That kind of journey is rare, and that kind of sincerity, even rarer. So yes, Laneige may have launched a campaign. Yes, Neo Cushion may have taken the #1 spot. Yes, the beauty world may be witnessing another wave of undeniable JIN-powered success. But underneath all of that is an even more unforgettable story. A story about a man who almost imagined an ending long ago, only to become more important, more loved, and more impactful with time. And maybe that's the real reason JIN continues to shine. Not just because he's handsome, not just because he's famous, not just because he's influential, but because after all these years, he still feels real. And in a world that is constantly chasing the next shiny thing, that kind of authenticity is its own kind of power. The kind you can't manufacture. The kind you can't fake. The kind that turns admiration into loyalty, and loyalty into legacy. That is JIN. That is the reason people keep watching. And that is why the JIN Effect feels bigger than ever.